Hi everybody, welcome to the channel. This meta report was supposed to come out with the stream at the calling in Liverpool. Due to time constraints, we didn't have enough time to put it out. So me and Scott got together and we've added the calling Liverpool results to this one. So this has got all three big events from the last 3 weeks. All right, enjoy. Hi everybody, welcome to the Meta Report. My name's Baz the Bard and I've been joined today by Scott Howling Mines. How are you doing, Scott?
I'm really well, thank you, Baz. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I am so stoked about the calling coming to Liverpool. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So let's rattle through basically everything for heavy hitters that has led up to the calling in Liverpool. So we're going to cover Queenstown calling, we're going to cover Hartford, we're going to cover Manila, and we're going to cover the UK and Ireland pre-release, or some of that anyway. Okay.
Sounds like a good time, yeah. Let's go.
Nice. So let's kick off a couple of weeks ago, and it was at Calling Queenstown. So this was the first sealed event after, well, I say the first, but they had the celebrational first, didn't they? So yeah, that was really cool to see. Congratulations,
I loved
Brody.
it. Yeah, spectacular event. I really hope to see more stuff like that in the future.
Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. So this is when everybody else got their hands on the cards, the new cards, a week before pre-release. There was a big sort of like hurrah about KO and how, you know, everyone thought how effective he's going to be. And everybody's taken that advice. 78 KOs out of the 219, the most popular hero going into heavy hitters. Is that a surprise?
No, not at all. I think obviously most people have kind of got a look at the cards from both the celebrational and the spoilers before this event. You know, especially if you're going to play a calling, you take it a little bit more seriously. I think most people have kind of figured out there was a bit of a disparity, at least in sealed, maybe also in draft, for which of the two heroes from each class you tend to find yourself falling into in this sealed format. 3 of them are just way more synergistic. They require a lot more moving pieces. And 3 of them are just happy to be playing good cards. And we kind of see that at the top here. The three standouts that are just happy to play whatever good cards of the class you got. Especially KO and Kasai.
Yeah, I've heard with Kasai, when you're picking warriors, it's like you really have to have a reason to not choose Kasai over Olympia. And that tends to be the headpiece, the Gallia. Or maybe a hot streak, you know, to see, you know, what he can do.
Yeah, something like up the ante, the other Olympia specialization. I think it's the same about Victor and Reinar, really. You know, if you open up the headpiece for Victor, or the Golden Sun, which of course is an incredible overpower attack, it gives you a reason to look at those heroes. But you really need a reason to. Otherwise, you should probably be sticking with the 3 mainstays. They're a lot safer and easier to build for most pools.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So, so this was the 219 players. Let's see what the top 16 after the sealed event got. So 8 Kasai, 5 Kano, 2 Olympia, and 1 Betsy made it into the top 16. So well done if that was you. Kasai really proved how powerful she was. You know, the 2 best picks, and they're the 2 main picks, you know, for the people who've actually placed, we shall say. Which one's your favourite?
So from playing the sealed format so far, I've been pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoy Kasai. I thought I was always going to be a bit more of a brute guy. I love KO. I love the underdog from the underground, kind of scrappy fight. But Kasai's got so much flexibility in the way she can be played in both sealed and draft. She can be that agility focused go again deck that wants to you know, swing both sabers every turn. She can want to swing a single saber every turn and pump it twice with two attack reactions, or she can just draft a bunch of block 3s, a parry blade for a bit of extra defense, and all these block cards, and just be the fatigue deck of the format too. That's just how good the warrior cards block. And I think that gives her some serious replayability in both sealed and draft. It's not a class you're going to get bored of very quickly, and I've just found it a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, thing is, her deck building is a little bit more flexible over Olympia. I mean, she wants yellows, whereas Olympia just wants reds and blues. He doesn't really want the yellows. So sort of like with the sealed format, he's just like, okay, it feels a bit clunky, but if he can get some wages And the attack reactions that work off the wages. He seems to come
For
alive on those
sure.
ones.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's
but
been
yeah,
kind of alluded to a minute ago. The specializations go a long way for
yeah,
Olympia, but also a lot of those wage attacks. Obviously, your red wage agilities and stuff, they're good in every hero that can play them. But
yeah.
a lot of money where your mouth is action, some of the yellow and blue ones, they're really appealing for Olympia, who can really leverage the fear of that on hit. And as you can see, we had two, like we had this. Well, I don't know, a huge conversion rate here. Two of the eight or whatever that were actually played in the event full stop made the top 16.
Yeah.
It goes to show you, if you do have that really good Olympia pool in sealed, you should look at it because it's clearly worth playing.
Thing is, they might have had an up the ante or something like that. One card in
Oh yeah,
sealed can push you through as long as you can time it. You know, let it sit. Hopefully, it doesn't get stuck in your arsenal and then you sort of like rue the day that you ever put it in there.
of course,
That
yeah.
that can happen in sealed. Okay, so that was the top 16 sealed. They then go into draft. So this is the draft pods 1 to 3. So sort of like
Right.
as so the top 16, there was what, two Olympia, one Betsy. So and this time basically there's a victory instead of a Betsy, but essentially there were 8 Kasai's, now there's 8 KOs. There were 5 KOs, and now there's 5 Kasai's. So they kind of swapped, but it's still, it's still pretty similar to how those players played in the sealed. You would just go, okay, I did quite well with these heroes. I'm quite comfortable playing sort of like really aggro in KO, or more reaction based with Kasai. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Tales of Aria. You go with the really aggro ones, and sort of like the ones that are a little bit more difficult to deck build. You kind of like just go, I'm going to stay away from those for a while and wait for more experience. And then I'll know what to pick when it comes to seeing sort of like Olympia cards, when it comes to seeing Victor cards and building those decks. The third pool, which is 3 Betsy, I was just like, wow, that's really cool. They're actually the sealed players from 17 to 24. 6 were KO, 1 was Kasai, and 1 was Olympia. So none of them have really played a similar character to what, or hero to what they played in
Interesting.
sealed. It's completely different. So
Yeah, I think this is quite interesting actually. I kind of agree with what you're saying in terms of people maybe leaning towards the heroes they knew were good, being a
mm,
bit safer with this being their first exposure to heavy hitters. But I've definitely found in draft practice heading into Liverpool for myself that it's a whole different beast than the sealed format. There's a lot of
yeah,
things going on in draft that maybe aren't so commonplace in sealed. So yeah, I'm not surprised to see this. KO is definitely that hero that every single blue with 5 power is a playable card. So it's
mm,
very hard to train wreck a draft. It's you can't end up with an unplayable pile of cards, a couple cracked baubles. It makes sense. It was 4 of them in a lot of these cases for people that were just playing it safe, knew
yeah.
that they had to get a 2-1 to make the top 8. You just don't want to take the chance on Victor on Olympia, end up with the 0-3 and find yourself going home before you know it.
Thing is, I think Reinhar's going to be really hard to draft over KO because, like you said, you're going to see more cards that are sort of like 5s than you are. Reinhar's going to want those 6s, and sort of like
Yeah,
a KO
yeah.
player is going to go, well, I'll take the 6s as well because I'm going to clash and I'm going to get them to 7. So what I mean. I think the
It's
Reinhar's
interesting.
actually quite hard to draft unless he can get sort of like the cards that actually say intimidate. Like there's I can't remember what it's called. Beast something. It's got him pound in the ground. Um,
You're on about beast mode, yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
it. That's the
yeah.
one. And if that's beat chest and it gets extra power, and you're just like, okay, that is a total Rhino card, and it's whether or not they're going to be open. It's whether or not
Yeah,
you can see him early.
it's interesting with Reinhardt. I definitely find he's the least drafted hero at the moment. He's hard to put together. I don't think necessarily the beast mode is the trick myself. It's been an
Mm,
interesting one. I got a what I found so far with Reinhardt, the reasons I end up in him. Um, is the second claw, honestly. His specialization cards are lovely. If you happen to see Show No Fear or that headpiece, cool. There's some rationale there. But KO has one arm. He only gets to play that one mandible claw. which means sometimes he's better off blocking and sending a 2-card hand if to keep tempo, make a might token. Reinhardt's really good with cards like Bonebreaker Bellow, the 1-cost non-attack action that beats chest.
Yeah.
You don't have to you don't have to waste cards, send attacks, use any cards in your deck. That applies to your Mandible Claws, and they get give and go again by you beating your chest. So a lot of Reinhardt's really big play patterns for me in draft are very much around Bonebreaker into Double Claw into a Pack Hunt. So you're really going a whole extra attack wider than anybody can do, and making the most of the fact you have 2 hands, because that's the big selling point for Reinhardt over the other brute, in my opinion.
Yeah, because we've seen that KO basically makes an agility token and then swings with claw big attack. That's the general play pattern with him. Okay, so they're the draft pods. This was the very first draft for heavy hitters. Let's see what the top 8 draft is like. So slightly different. 2 more Guardians come in. Olympia's gone. Kasai as the top warrior has come in, and KO as the top brute has come in. Whether or not people kind of like, force the warriors and had to force a brute, we don't know. It's whether or not people, had a chance to, have a chat about it afterwards. Maybe the Betsy one, they saw sort of like big bops and one of the Betsy specializations to go round, wages for her and clashes for Victor. It's just nice to see Guardians come through.
This is definitely what I expect your average draft pod to look like at this point. From my experience, I tend to find Guardian is the class of the 3 that can hold the least people. If you end up in a 3 Guardian pod or above, you're in some serious trouble. Your card quality drops off really, really quickly. Whereas KO and Kasai are kind of the 2 heroes that can hold 3 players in a pod pretty comfortably. So seeing 3 brutes, 3 warriors, 2 guardians is kind of what I expect from a lot of pods. There'll be a different mix in there. Sometimes a Reinhardt will sneak in. Sometimes an Olympia will sneak in. Maybe it will be 2 Betsies or 2 Victors. But same kind of thinking. I expect you to see a lot of this over the course of Liverpool.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so finals. Most people should know who made the final. So Darren Ying on Kasai and Koidin on Victor. This was awesome match.
It was,
really,
yeah.
It's just absolutely brilliant. But Darren took it with Kasai. So straight out the gates, we've got Kasai winning a big sort of like event, the first big event. So it's just like, wow, she's made an impact. Heavy Hitters is here. And Kasai, everybody loves her. Everybody cheered at Barcelona when they revealed her on the Heavy Hitter promo video. And she's like, thank you. Thank you for all the cheers. And you should be cheering me because I am the first champion of Heavy Hitter.
No, she's fantastic. And I think a lot of people, a lot of these heroes are quickly becoming fan favorites, but there were only 2 that had any pre-established fan bases out there. And Reinhardt stands, they're playing the same hero. There's nothing super exciting there. Kasai players, so you get to play in CC for the first time. And there's a lot of passionate people that are very happy to see that she's got legs in both drafts and constructed.
Yeah, we'll see how popular she is later on when we cover that section. Okay, so we've gone in. So Kasai won. This is sort of like a snapshot of the pre-releases from United Kingdom and Ireland, which, if you're familiar with the meta report that I do, you'll know that these are the 2 countries that I cover. So on the back of Kasai, Kasai was very popular in the UK pre-release. 13 Kasais won. She was awesome. Even at my local, the final was Kasai versus Betsy. And Kasai just took that down fairly handily. Who won yours?
Me, actually.
Oh.
Which was on Olympia. Mate. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I had the pleasure of not dropping a game on Olympia. Had a really interesting seal pool, but it was mostly carried by my own copy of Up the Ante, which of course is a specialization we keep referencing. Which is a very good card, and it helped me learn a bit more about what Olympia wanted to do in this format.
Yeah, I went 2-1 with KO. I got an overpower off, a red overpower off, and I was just like, oh god, that felt so good. I had to burn equipment in the previous turn to make sure I got it out, but that was absolutely awesome.
I'm finding that's one of my favorite parts of this format. Like, we're so used to holding armor for later, cover up those on hits, use our life as a buffer. Down but not out just means that can really kick you in the teeth. for making that decision. And more, you'll see it all the time in this format. People just taking their armor and blocking with it when they can, chucking it under the bus.
Yeah.
Some of those armor that only block when you're behind on life, don't worry about it. Block for 0. Get it out of the way. You do not want to be losing a game to down but not out. It's an incredible rare.
What I quite like about this format is there's no inherent fatigue, like not what you would be more familiar with. There's because there is like 2 blocks. There's loads of 2 blocks, but the 2 block cards are really good, and you want to play them anyway. But it's like the way you fatigue them is I'm just going to smash you with some really powerful attacks, and you're going to have to block everything I'm throwing at you, and that's the way you're going to fatigue instead of just going, I'm going to stick some armor in, I'm going to stick a high defense reaction in. It is literally, you do feel like you are just slugging it out now, and it's just like you better take some hits or you ain't coming back at me at all.
I do think it's possible to get that Christmas Land fatigue deck with all these block 4s, block cards, a lot of block 3s. It can be done if you're trying to do that, but I find if you're in a draft pod with like 1 to 2 brutes, there's just so much raw like damage coming at you, and not everything can block 3, and it becomes very difficult. So yeah, I agree. I love seeing this format kind of revolving around these 3-cost attacks that come in for 7 at red, that always just leak a point, earn 2 cards, and just kind of going that proactive fatigue route instead of the reactive fatigue.
Yeah, and it's the attack with weapon. Are you gonna take my 2-3 because I'm about to hit you with a 6 or 7 in a minute? So but yeah. So that was the UK pre-release. I'd just like to give a special mention to Mox in the Hole. 33 players at their sealed event, their pre-release sealed, which was the biggest UK pre-release we've ever had. So
it's incredible.
Hats off to you. Well
done.
Absolute
shout out to Mox. They're doing some incredible stuff. I only wish you weren't so far away from me, or I'd come and see you more often myself. But no, I think it's a good sign of things to come. We might see more of it as we go down the presentation, but the player base in the UK has actually grown so much in the wake of heavy hitters. We've had so many new players locally to us joining and jumping into the game for the first time, and I think it's a great place for them to do so. It's very much a welcome to race style feel to how this set has been so far, and it shows as these attendance numbers just keep going up and up.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So let's get on to the next another big event. So this was streamed on LSS's channel, FabTCG. Mansant was doing the production. Cheers, man. Cheers, Ethan. Brilliant job.
Love you, Ethan.
422 players. Oh, God. Awesome numbers. 169 KOs. So on the back of Queenstown, no surprises. KO is the most popular deck, followed by Kasai, followed by Betsy. It is pretty much the same order. I think Reinar had more than Victor at Queenstown, but everything else is sort of like exactly the same. If I was going to say, what's Liverpool going to be like? It's pretty much going to look like this. I can't see it any different, but
I expect a very similar breakdown. I think there's a chance the European crowd love Kasai a bit more, and maybe those numbers are a bit closer between first and second, but that's kind of most of the change I'd expect to see. I just wanted to give a real quick shout out to this event, actually. A lot of people might remember this was an SCG con. It's for Star City Games that kind of hosted this calling between events for other card games all over the shop as well. And thanks to a tweet from Brian Gottlieb, it's actually the first time that Flesh and Blood has had the best attended event at an SCG con. Which means it was the most popular game on the weekend. Most people turned up to play it, and we've never seen that before. So, honestly, fair play to everybody behind this set, and congrats to all of you that turned out for this. What clearly was a monumental occasion.
Yeah, it just goes to show that people are actually listening, to the player base of Flesh and Blood and just going, look, you need to check this out because this is the best TCG, and you're all missing out. It's the most competitive card game I've ever played. It's just like, it's phenomenal.
Even outside of the competitive side, we're seeing more and more UPF support, people just jamming games over kitchen tables, and I love to see that as well. I think that the best part of TCGs is there's always something for everybody, and we are starting to attract that casual crowd, be it people that love cosplayers, people that love Ultimate Pit Fight, or people that just want to meet artists and sign some cards at events and stuff. But there's something for everybody, and honestly, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, thing is, talking about cracking packs. So normally, you sort of like, you get your case, and you just like, just rip them open as fast as possible. Let's see what you get. But because this has got the UPF, I played. There was 3 of us, so we just went, look, let's have a sealed UPF. We made our sealed decks. We had a UPF. I was playing Olympia. And yeah, I won that one, and I was just like,
Yeah.
heck yeah, this is cool. And then we just grabbed another 6 packs, opened them up, and then jammed them in the deck, and just went, right, let's play again.
Span it up, made it even more powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And we did that 3 times in a row, and it was absolutely crazy. And it was literally, it was just like, can I have more than three of these? And it was like, yeah, just whatever you want, just stick in it. It's like, it was just like a free for all, and it was absolutely flipping amazing.
Exactly. No, I tell you what, I did exactly the same thing. I sat down for some UPF with some packs on pre-release weekend, and we made the agreement that the first player out would be responsible for paying for the drinks. And I've never played a more competitive game of Flesh and Blood in my entire life. So spectacle. Absolutely recommend it if you've got a handful of packs loose.
Dude, UPF with drinking fingers for every point of damage you take. You're just like that.
Oh,
that would
that's going to get messy fast.
It's like, oh, don't lose.
Do you want to block? Do you want to block?
Indeed. Okay, so this was day one. Okay, let's see the conversion rate into day two for everyone who was playing, those sealed characters. So sealed heroes, I should say. So KO 16%, the most represented hero, and had the best conversion rate. And they're in the same order. They're in the order they got picked. So it's good.
It's good. It certainly gives you a good idea of what you're expecting to be in for. A little bit better conversion this time for KO here. I think Kasai was the best in Queenstown.
Okay.
And again, just kind of keeping a note here. Look at these Olympia players. It's not quite as good as Queenstown, but those people that are correctly identifying that they have an Olympia pool, it's doing some good work. They are converting those numbers, which is really good to see. Yeah. I think maybe Victor and Reinar might be in need of a bit of help in Limited. So if you're watching this during Liverpool and you check the standings and see I'm playing Reinar, please send help, as I'm going to need it.
Or buy him a drink. There we go. He needs
that works
to drown his sorrows.
Game of UPF.
So that's the sealed element. I haven't got any pod breakdowns. So as we go into draft, but I do have the top 8 draft. Okay, 2 Betsy, 2 Kasai, 1 KO. Actually, quite surprised by that. But we had 1 Reinar, and if you watch the stream, that Reinar deck, is it Ellis Ross was playing Reinar, and her deck was flipping really good. It was a really good game to see.
Absolute corker, yeah. Yeah, this was an interesting pod for me. I think I would be very upset to be in a Guardian seat in this pod. I think if you're one of the 3 Guardians, you are in trouble, as we kind of alluded to before. So I would be unhappy if I found myself in any of those seats. But this is a really good spread, all in all. This is what you want to see from a set that's got 6 heroes in it. You look at the draft breakdown, and they're all here. Somebody ended up in every single one, playing all the different cards. And yeah, I think the only real surprise here is that we have the 1 KO. But if you have a Reinar, that makes sense. So I can't fault it.
Yeah. And that Reinar was, it was not just taking the cards, the scraps essentially from the KO player. It was really, really good.
It's not just KO with a monstrous fail, which is definitely the concern sometimes.
Yeah, indeed. But the LSS developers must have been so happy to see all 6 heroes taken. You know what I mean? He's just like, we've done a flipping good job. If we've seen all 6 on, what is essentially the second event for heavy hitters, and we're getting what we hoped we would get.
If you're on the design team for this set, first of all, thank you. You've done a corking job. But secondly, what else could they possibly have asked for? This is what you want to see as a breakdown for your top 8 draft of your first premier sealed event in the US. Every hero viable. Somebody picked up every seat. It's great.
Indeed. Okay, so everybody should have seen this final. This final was absolutely amazing. 2 players that are basically trying to break into the big time. 2 players that are basically on the bubble all the time, but then have got their shot. And well done, Mark Morrison. You took your shot and you won it. Absolutely blinder of a game. That was really good. Took a beating early on, but came back when it really mattered, generating agility token after agility token. Which sort of like put the pressure on Cody to take it.
Really absolutely. Good. I think the finals game was spectacular. If you've not had the pleasure of watching it, highly recommend you going back. I don't have the pleasure of knowing Mark personally, but I do know. I'm friends with many of their friends by extension. There's a lot of public celebration from them taking down a call-in, and I have seen them claiming they are now the worst worst calling winner of all time. I don't think that's fair to yourself, Mark. You did a cracking job. It was a great game on camera, so congratulations again to you. And hopefully I have the pleasure of being destroyed by you sometime in the future.
I'd love to call myself the worst player for winning a 422 player event.
It's not bad, right? It's like, yeah, I'm in this exclusive club of people that want to call in, and I am at the very bottom. You know what? That still makes me quite good at Flesh and Blood.
I'm so awful at it. It's all, yeah.
Oh, I'm so bad. I simply won copious amounts of prize money. How very unfortunate.
Big shout out to Brody Spurlock, Michael Feng, Sam O'Brien, and there was another commentator. And
can you get that?
I can't. Old man's lost it. What was it? Go on.
Did we not have 1G on this as well? Is that right?
He wasn't commentating.
No.
Who else?
Who? Now I look bad. Sorry, additional commentator. I have also forgotten who you were.
Shout out in the chat. Oh my god, that's so bad. It was phenomenal though. It was absolutely phenomenal. The commentary team for this. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, please.
There's been all kinds of copious compliments about this. I'm lucky enough to call Sam a friend of mine. They've been very kind about my work, and I think they're great. Had a pleasure at catching up at Worlds this year. And I mean, Brody and Michael are just two of the biggest names in Flesh and Blood at this point. Incredible players, exceptionally wholesome people, ham sandwich aficionados. There's all kinds of compliments I could give off here about those players, and it's great to see them doing such a good job in the booth.
Thing is once they give up sort of like playing, they seem to got a commentary job for life. It was that good. It was so good. That was awesome.
Yeah,
right.
Both spectacular.
Yeah, but something else happened at Hartford. Something else apart from Sealed. So shall we see it? Okay,
shall we see it?
So Battle Hardened. Not the greatest. It's probably the hardest event to get anything out of, Battle Hardened. But 189 players went into it. This is where we're going to see sort of like, can the new heroes really cut the mustard? But we've got to remember, this is sort of like, release weekend. Are those players going to be able to get those sought after cards? They've been smashing those games on Talishar, refining the deck that they want to play for this event, and then basically trying to hit the singles market or basically hit their mates up to, to get the Blade Furies, to get the KO kit, to get the Victor kit. And it's just like,
who opened an Apex Bonebreaker? It's very much that kind of vibe.
It's like a free for all. Christ, I need these cards and I need them now. But saying that, 20 victors straight out the bat on day one. You're just thinking, what? That's crazy. We thought that, we knew Bravo was going to be strong into it. We heard Levia was strong into it. Dromai, because of her tomes. Let's see what she's got. But there's a hell of a lot of poppers going around now.
There is. Turns out when Brute's good, Dragons look a little less appealing.
Yeah, indeed. Unfortunately, the Bright Light heroes sort of like down the bottom of the pecking order. Really going to struggle into this one. But there's going to be love for them at some point again.
I want to take a moment to just praise this screenshot, this meta breakdown. This is the reason to play Flesh and Blood. I'm lucky enough to be doing some of the commentary for this event on the videos for Savage Feats. When I saw this breakdown for the first time, that's 22 out of 25 heroes that somebody picked up and registered to play in this event. There is no other card game on earth with a metagame that diverse that will reward you for picking up something you're passionate about, a hero you think you're good on, maybe have an edge over the room, and let you play it at the highest level to some level of success. One of these 2 maxes ends up in the feature match area. One of these 4 Arachnes ends up in the feature match area. We get a Kano mirror match in the feature match area. It goes to show you that these heroes that are down the bottom of this graphic here, they were still performing. They were still turning up, putting up the numbers. The people that are passionate about their play styles are really good on them and can compete. And that's what leads to you getting a room like this. It's just incredible diversity. And this is the kind of graphic I want to see at every single CC event I going forward. Except I'll probably be the one playing Dash.io to make it 23.
Thing is, we've now hit our stride. People are either diversifying into a particular class and sticking with that hero and just going, I'm going to play that through thick and thin, no matter what. Whereas other players will will always go to what they think the meta pick is. It's just like it's whatever your flavour of game is. It caters for all, but it also is in at a place where those players that have stuck with a hero through thick and thin will do very well, like the Azalea players, like the Bolton players, like we've seen Kano. I can't play Kano for Toffee. It's too confusing for me. But the thing is, in a new meta, people are going to go aggro, and Kano's just like comes out and just go, "Did you remember your AB? Because I'm
you
about
forgot
to
about me,
smash
didn't you?
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, we were saying this during some Liverpool talks ourselves. It's like, yeah, we could probably name every single Kano player in the UK. There's not very many of them. I can count them on my hands. But I can also tell you what table on average they're going to be sitting at calling as well, because there's a reason that we know who they.
Yeah, Liam Canning, James Thorgood.
Yeah, you're starting the list already. There's maybe 5 if you try hard enough. But no, I love this graphic so much, and I am so happy to see 3 of our new heroes here, like in the top 10. And that's really refreshing after a few sets with focused on heroes that have not had that same immediate impact on the classic constructed metagame.
Yeah, totally. It's a surprise that no Betsy. I was just like, wow, okay. I think she's actually quite strong. She could snowball into a late game.
She's quite strong, but have you looked at Bravo? That is one handsome man, and it's going to be very, very hard to convince me that I should be playing Betsy with her flavor of overpower. Why I can just dominate you on.
Yeah. On tap. Yeah, it's just whether or not you can keep rolling over the tokens. But, Betsy's got skin in the game, mate. She ain't.
She does. Yeah. She does. But you know what she doesn't have? Crippling Crush.
Yeah, indeed. Never mind. Right, cool. Okie dokie. So let's get into the top 8. This is sort of like the heroes that have cut the mustard on the day. The 8 out of the 189 players that took part. 2 Bravo, 2 KO, 1 Dash. Probably a slab dash, I would have thought. I don't know. Have you?
No spoilers.
Ooh, sorry. I'm surmising. 1 Kano, 1 Kasai, and 1 Levia. So Ethan must have been very happy seeing that. Right, okie dokie. Do you know who made the final?
I do, yes.
Right, okay.
I had the pleasure of casting the second semi-final, so there wasn't too much left to the imagination. Right. Just a few things to shout out about a few players here while we've got a second. The Levia player, congratulations to them. Their list was very heavily inspired by Ethan's that he posted on the channel a few days prior, so I'm sure Ethan's ecstatic about that. Seeing Kasai and KO here, 3 out of the top 8 on release weekend. Fantastic, and that 1 Kano player, that's the lovely Margin Bay, Caleb Van Patten, who has had the worst week with their primary game of being that they play Legends of Runeterra being closed down permanently. So we were really rooting for Margin to take the win here, and have something to celebrate instead. So.
Nice. Okay. I would say sort of like when they first started talking about Kasai, they said it's going to take a while to to get good with it. Okay, right. Top 8 times straight away. It's just like, yeah, okay.
Valiant Dynamo is a heck of a card, and I've been looking for an excuse to play that thing in Classic Constructed for the longest time. We finally got one, and you can see the kind of raw power already. And that's not the only tips and tricks Kasai's got. She's not just a reskin of her old Blitz deck. She's got all kinds of new toys and trinkets, and I've been having a blast trying to figure out what she's supposed to look like.
Yeah, I'm more going with Olympia. Yeah, it's just, he looks Roman, or Greek. He's just like, he is right up my alley. Spartacus every day, all day. He's just like,
I've heard whispers that we're getting a very elaborate Olympia cosplay here at the Calling in Liverpool.
Nice.
And I'm hearing that it might be a previous Pro Tour champion who's wearing that costume. So if the rumors are true, might be worth keeping your eye out for some incredible Spartan style photographs coming out of the Calling in Liverpool.
Nice, brilliant. Okie dokie. So final time, right? Margin Bay. He's no stranger to top 8s. He's no stranger to finals against Yuki Lee Bender with KO. Yuki Lee, I had the pleasure of sitting next to her at Worlds at the streaming table. She was playing Dash, and oh god, I've never. I mean, it was just an absolute privilege to be up close and watch him play. He's just like
the limited games. Yeah, the limited games on Dash at Worlds were extraordinary. I've been a really big fan of Yuki's play for a long time. She was one of the people that originally inspired me to take Lexi more seriously, because I just thought she played that hero so much better than most people I had the pleasure of watching. And yeah, I mean, the results show it's a world's top 8. It was success on Bolton a few weeks back. It's crushing it on an undefeated run up to this point on a brand new hero on release weekend. I had the pleasure of commentating a semi-finals. It's a spectacular game, and I this will not be the last you see of Yuki Bender.
Yeah, indeed. She's a very quiet, reserved person, but oh my god, get her on the table and playing games. She is fantastic.
Unless you're on the other side, you do not want to be on the other side of that table playing games. Like, yeah.
Oh man,
scary stuff.
She shouts it out on the table. Oh, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So congratulations, Yuki. Fantastic win, absolutely fantastic win. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and commiserations to Margin. As I say, I know you've had the worst week going, my friend. So close. Shout out to you for your winner's photo, for holding your iris, Matt, looking like you've had a really bad time too. So he's doing great out there. It's good to see you succeeding on Kano still.
Nice, okie dokie. But Hartford wasn't the only place last weekend, was it? We had another event. We had one in Manila.
The thriller in Manila, which is the only way I will refer to it moving forward.
This was streamed on Unboxed Flesh and Blood. Okay, so if you didn't have the chance to see it, go check them out on YouTube and watch those games. There were some really good games on that one.
Huge shout out to Unboxed. They are doing the Lord's work for Flesh and Blood in the Philippines right now. They have an exceptionally loyal community of players. And I'm so happy to see them being rewarded by being given a battle hardened to.
So this was day one. This was a Blitz event. So this is the first time we've really had a competitive Blitz since the skirmish season. None of the top heroes could live in Legend. They were too far away. So we got Dash, Briar, someone else, Dory. Dory.
Someone else.
Yeah, someone else. Dory. Who can forget Dory that are in the 400s that are looking to live in Legend quite soon. So they had their shot at this. Would have had their shot to get nearer. 40 points were on the line. A massive spread of heroes again. Data Dull. I know that she had a resurgence with Bright Lights and she's got some nice tricks now. It's good that somebody's, he's got the courage to take her. Fair play to you. Like you were saying earlier, massive spread of heroes, considering, essentially we've had a big cull of Blitz heroes go to live in Legend, in the last skirmish season. But it's just like, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
What else could you ask for? Like, just look at this metagame and find me any other game that has a metagame breakdown like this. I just love seeing the diversity. I love people being able to express themselves through their hero choice without handicapping themselves at a competitive level. It's just spectacular. And I hope that the format looks like this forever.
Yeah, indeed. Right. Okay. So let's get on to the top 8. So the top 8 look like this. So not bad, eh? Nearly 8 heroes made it. Briar's just like, nope. I'm going to show you how good I am in Blitz, and here she is. Dash. So the top 3 heroes that are approaching Living Legend all made it into the top 8. So
Shocker,
Briar, Dash, and Dory. Prism showing what she can do. Whether or not that had Iris or the new Celestial Fury, I don't know. But we've got a Victor in there and a Vincent. And one Rhinar is always nice in Blitz. Intimidate your hand, and then I'm going to attack you for 44. Brilliant.
Certainly can. No, lots of the expected here. A little bit of a surprise. Rune Blades have always kind of been a linchpin of Blitz, even when we've seen Chain and the like on the way out. Prism still gets access to Old Luminaris in Blitz, so she gets to do all the wild shenanigans that weapon enables. Rhinar, as you briefly alluded to, sometimes pretends you were never there and just evaporates you from existence on the first turn of the game. But definitely the standout here, Victor Goldmain, making an appearance on release weekend. Yeah, and really showing that Guardian is a playable class in Blitz.
And we'll see how playable he was now. Oh my God, he made it into the final. Justin King on Victor and Fee Sensi on Vincent. Vincent, I mean, she came out with Dust Till Dawn and she was hitting finals straight away under Blitz. A bit underrepresented, in later events, but she's certainly holding her own.
She's always been a bit of a sleeper pick in the format, I think. And as we see Briar leave the format in the near future, I imagine we'll be seeing plenty more of Inset.
But yeah, unfortunately, she was with Rosetta Thorn. She won't have Rosetta in when Briar goes. So the final was was really good. Victor won this. Justin Koo won with Victor. What a final it was! When Justin won, he stood up and he run around the event, and it was absolutely amazing. The smile on his face was just like,
I
yes.
love seeing that kind of passion. It's what Flesh and Blood and card games are all about. I'm glad that you achieved something that clearly meant so much to you. Justin put on a clinic in this event as well. Crushed all comers. Made Victor look like an absolute force to be reckoned with in Blitz. And I agree. After watching some of those games, the Armor Suite's incredible. Trounce is a heck of a card. And there's a lot of goodies going on for Victor in the format, and this will not be the last you see of that hero in Blitz. I promise you.
Yeah, indeed. Right. Okay. So, seeing the gold foil opened, so he pulled a corker of a gold foil.
He certainly did.
Opened on camera on the stream deck. He went absolutely bonkers again. A gold foil Apex Bone Breaker was opened, and it was just like, yes. We're getting heavy hitter gold foil straight out the bat, and well deserved.
Honestly, love to see it, and that's an incredible gold foil. It looks beautiful, and congrats again to Justin for getting to take home that piece of shiny showpiece for the fireplace, I guess.
Okay, right. CC time. So this is a miles different to sort of like Hartford. It just shows sort of like what the different metas are going to be like in different countries. So you really have to kind of know where you're going if you're traveling. Play Fab, see the world. Know where you're going. Know the meta. 12 Azalea. Yeah. Where was Dromai? Dromai was the top pick in the US. Philippines 12.
Yeah,
it's just like
it's a bit of a known quantity that the community in the Philippines, for a magnitude of reasons we won't jump into, they're really big fans of the Welcome to Wraith heroes. So if you see their events coming out of the woodwork, there's always an overrepresentation in comparison to the rest of the world of your Katsus, your Bravos, and usually it's like your Dories and your Reinars too, which they're not suddenly nowhere to be seen in this event, but they are a little bit further down, mostly because they've been knocked down a peg by these newcomers. Prism putting on a great show in here again, standing up to put on a fight when there is significantly less brutes in the room than we saw in the US. And Kasai also up there on that top row on release weekend, showing you exactly what you can do with a brand new warrior with some shiny shoes.
Yeah, KO is down there with Max and Vincent. It's just like, blimey. Okay, massive
whole different world.
Hero. It's just like, not really interested over in Manila. But let's see how the top 8 shapes up. 3-5. So Katsu might have been the best, the most represented ninja, but he certainly wasn't the most represented in the top 8. 3-5, 2 Bravo, 1 Dory. Kasai is here again, and the Katsu. Okay, so not as much of a spread as Hartford, but those 5 players, there weren't many people taking 5.
No.
And they have done really, really well. Well done.
No, really, really good conversion. It's if you squint hard enough here, this looks like a Welcome to Wraith event. We're just full of warriors, we're full of ninjas, and we're full of guardians, and that's the kind of meta game you could be expecting. And you can tell that these players are very dedicated to those classes and getting the results they deserve as a result.
Okay, so the final time. It was Campai Bustamante on Bravo and Andre C on Kasai. So Kasai, release weekend, makes it into a final in a classic constructed. 175 players. It's just like,
just look at this. Okay. It's release weekend. We had Victor winning in Blitz. We've had KO winning in CC, and we've had Kasai not quite winning in CC, but making the finals of a Battle Hard on release weekend. 3 out of 6 in finals or winning. That's not half bad for a brand new set of cards.
Indeed, and if you're looking to pick up Kasai, it must fill you with confidence to go, this hero can handle like big events. But congratulations to Campai winning it with Bravo. Fantastic win. Managed to contain Kasai in all her shenanigans that she was trying to do. But yeah, very good. Very well played.
Yeah, really sweet final. Well worth watching over on the Unbox channel if you haven't already. Both players put on a bit of a spectacle. Really well put together and well worth watching.
Yeah, he opened a gold foil galvanic bender. That's what he opened. Everybody's reaction wasn't as enthusiastic as the Apex Bone
I
Breaker,
don't know.
but
I mean, they're both gold foil arm pieces, right? What's the
yeah,
difference?
exactly. I'm quite happy when I get to see one, let alone I get to open one. It's just like, wow,
Yeah.
that looks really cool. So
Yeah,
well done.
to be honest, it is the one gold foil you're going to be trying to slip underneath another permanent in the form of Nitro Mechanoid. So maybe it's not the best one to be blinging out to the maximum. But congratulations again to Kampai, and I hope you enjoy your Galvanic Bender.
Yeah, indeed. They were talking about it prior to him opening it, going, we hope it's not the brute vizier headpiece.
Oh yeah,
They're just like,
yeah.
we've seen that opened on the channel.
The old bone vizier. Yeah, not high on my list of wants either.
Yeah, not at the minute anyway.
Not
Right,
yet.
okay. So that is the coverage of what's been. What happens at Liverpool, we'll see. Okie dokie. So we're going to move on to the calling in Liverpool. It happened last weekend, streamed on Fab TCG by Alan from Tabletop 24 and myself sitting at the table. Some amazing games. You came on round 3.
I did, yeah. Made a guest appearance on camera. I may or may not be wearing the same hat and jacket purely by chance, but don't worry about that.
Mate, it's your signature look. It's just you got.
Of course it is.
Yeah,
Of course it is. The amount, I tell you what, I got more compliments on the hat than I did my play, my content, any of that over the course of the weekend. Everyone loves the hat.
Right, so let's get cracking. So we're going to start with Sealed. That's what we streamed. That was what the calling was after all.
Yes.
Right, so this was the Sealed Swiss Matter. I've got to put my teeth in today. That didn't sound right. As all the other ones that we've shown, sort of like with Hartford, with Queenstown, we knew that KO was going to be sort of like top pick. We knew that Kasai was going to be up there, and we knew that Betsy was going to be the third. Generally, sort of like where the other 3 lay, that's decided more on the packs.
Yeah, I think this is mostly what we expected. I just kind of remember discussing it with you on the day. I think the only thing that surprised me a bit here is just how close Olympia and Betsy are. I think slowly but surely people are starting to figure out how to play Olympia in both draft and in sealed, and kind of getting used to when your pull isn't just, well, I should just be Kasai because I'm meant to be warrior, but she's the better one. People are slowly realizing there is reasons to be Olympia that aren't just the specializations, and we are seeing a little bit of an uptick in the amount of people that are willing to play him as a result. But yeah, this was no real surprise.
We see this, when we show the draft pools as well. That people are more comfortable going into him, but sort of like Betsy and Olympia are all using wager cards. They're all sort of like they're all out of the brute and the guardian sort of like warrior talent cards, and you've got the universal wage gold one. So it just depends what your other flop is on the other cards, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. I think Kasai is still pretty clearly the normal, correct warrior to be. You just open a normal pool with some weapon buffs and some goodies, but there's definitely a point where you've got 5, 6, 7 of the good edge aheads or wage golds, these kind of effects, and you really do have to look at Olympia. People are starting to realize the gold is the payoff, unironically, and being able to leave a resource floating while you do your stuff. It represents all kinds of tricks in this format. And that's very powerful. You don't have to actually have those cards because it's sealed. Your opponent's going to play around commons a lot of the time anyway, and that's very, very sweet. And I'm really happy to see him getting a little bit more respect. And you never know, might end up being Hero 3 at some point.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so let's get into day 2 conversion. So day 2 conversion looked like this: more Kasai converted than KO. Maybe people are sort of like getting used to his lines on how to block him out. He hasn't got really any tricks. He's just, kind of raw damage unless you can sort of like beat chest a little bit. The amount of damage he gets is pretty impressive. But generally, most of the heroes are probably coming in for 7 and 8s. Like, everybody's got access to Guardian, like, size damage, haven't they, in a card?
Yeah. I think that for me, I was one of these KOs in this case. I was one of the 19 KOs that converted to day 2. But I found, especially towards the last couple rounds of day 1, the sentiment was kind of the same with people around me, that in an event like a calling, it's a bit bigger than a pre-release. We obviously had 8 rounds on day 1. Brute still has consistency issues that are going to catch up with you at some point. You know, you've got these no block cards in your deck. You've got cards that just block like crap. You've got usually more mediocre armor if you haven't had the pleasure of opening Knucklehead, which obviously is the one that will really help KO convert. Whereas Kasai doesn't have those problems. The consistency remains. If you've got a reasonable power level of a Kasai deck, you're always going to have functional draws at some point during the game. And those top tables really were very warrior heavy towards the end. And I think we're slowly seeing that people would prefer to be Kasai in sealed if you're expecting more than 3 rounds of competition.
I think the main surprise over this conversion is Reinar, David Dyson.
Dyson! Why?
He had an absolute amazing day one. You know, he pulled a stellar pick for Reinar, and maybe sort of like the other KO should have maybe had a look to see if they would have converted into a Reinar deck instead of a KO deck. But that's just going to come with sort of like familiarity with the pools and with the cards. But sort of like David has been sort of like playing Reinar since the very early days. So he certainly knows what he's doing. We got him on stream on round 4, and he had an absolutely stormer of a game. Had trouble finishing. Had trouble finishing, which you find in most sealed games. Most sealed games, sort of like you know, both players are down to 1 and 2. You get that sort of like, you know, cat and mouse, squeaky bum moments. You know, just to try and finish out the match.
Yeah, real 50p territory. I think. The Dyson's deck was pretty incredible. Lovely Mandible Claw, Mini Meat Axe, Reinar list. And I still very much firmly believe you've got to have a very particular seal pool to want to be Reinar. You still have the same problems as KO a lot of the time. Those consistency issues still come up. You're not playing your Red Wild Rides or Bear Fangs. They're still like very, very good cards in your seal pool. But yeah, it goes to show you really that if you just sit down and take a look at the numbers and go, I think I actually am a better Reinar, there is reasons to at least experiment with that. And Dyson was the one to put on a bit of a show and was definitely the talk of the town heading into day 2.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so that's the conversion rate. Let's start looking at sort of like the first draft pods. So we've got pods 1 to 3. And here we go. So 4 KO, 2 Olympia, 1 Kasai, and 1 Victor in the very first pod. So we showed Francesco Giorgio drafting this. He kind of came off the worst end of sort of like the KOs. He was saying he managed to get 10 picks in the first pack, 8 picks in the second, and another 10 in the third. So he was kind of like scrambling around for some brute cards. You know, the draft was recorded, and you can go back and you can check out that stream to decide whether or not you would have gone KO as well with those picks. The first pick in his pack was Bear Fangs Red. So there was a slight hiccup with the camera, so he missed the first pack he opened, which can be sort of like an all-important one, and, you know, you kind of just kicking yourself because you missed it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. This pod is obviously not ideal. I think the victor in this pod is going to be very, very happy. They just have kind of the lion's share of everything they could possibly want over the course of this draft pod. Really interesting to see a pod with 2 Olympias instead of 2 Kasais. That's not something you'll see very often. I imagine you're very happy if you're the Kasai in this situation here as well. I can only imagine the KOs of this pod had a very uphill battle in front of them.
A lot of people are frightened of the player who drafted Victor. There was a Victor helmet floating around for quite a while in the draft, and they were very happy when I think Nabe took him out and gave him his first loss of round 1 of that draft. So pod 2, a little bit. You know, everybody had a piece of the pie. A nice, like, every hero was chosen. Pablo Pintor was in this pod. He chose Olympia in this case, and Liam Holden went Kasai. So those 2 players sort of like performed really well in that pod, and then they pushed into, you know, draft 2. They were in pod 1. So they performed really well.
This was a really interesting draft, actually. I've spoke to Liam about it a fair bit since. He was actually the one who kind of railroaded this draft by passing the Olympia specialization to Pintor. So at that point knew that he could cut off Pablo for all the warrior cards that he wanted, but also make Pablo into the other warrior. And thankfully for them both, there was no third warrior fighting them in the pod. So Liam got the perfect Kasai deck, Pablo got the perfect Olympia deck, and there was very little problem there. And it led to them both having a fantastic draft where they kind of took this pod for a bit of a cakewalk.
Yeah, this pod also had David Dyson. He's gone Rhino again, but
He's got a type.
Yeah, but with 4 brutes now fighting it out, sort of like he did suffer. The first 2 games he went 0-2. I'm not sure sort of like what his last result was, but it's not like
I'm finding this a lot. We won't see it necessarily on this graphic, but I was in pod 5 for this draft myself, and I was in another 4 brute pod, and I definitely kind of caught wind over the course of the day that all of these 4 brute pods, the brutes were very unhappy. Some of them had multiple crack baubles, and that's like we're clearly seeing that 4 brutes is too many for you to 3-0 a pod very often. If you're in that kind of lane, and I'm expecting to see a lot more like 3 brutes, 2 guardian pods going forward, where people get a little bit more scared of being brute number 4.
Yeah, there's a lot of like we can see in pod 3, 2 guardians this time. So sort of like players are just going, well, we'll let most people pick up the sort of like warrior and brute cards, and we'll concentrate sort of like on the guardian cards and see what we can craft. But 3 Kasai, it's a bit more even. 3 Kasai, 3 brute, 2 guardian. So there must have been sort of like a fair few sort of like wager cards and clash cards going around.
Yeah, this is mostly what I expect a lot of pods to look like going forward in terms of hero breakdown, with the occasional Olympia, occasional Rhinar sneaking their way in instead of one of their corresponding counterparts. But this for me, if I found out this was the hero distribution in my draft pod, I'd probably be pretty happy about it at this point.
Nice. Okay, so that is draft 1. Okay, so let's go on to draft 2. This is draft 2. Pod 1's got Pablo Pintor. He went for Betsy. It's also got Julian Felix Fleury. He chose Betsy as well. And Liam Holden on Kasai. When he sat down to do the draft 2, he went, Pablo's not in this one, is he? And I went, yeah, he is. And he went, I've played him 3 times this weekend already.
Yeah, they were 1-1 in draft, I believe, from what he was telling me. In the main event, and they were really hoping to meet each other in the final to get to truly have the answer to their best of 3 in the call-in, and sadly it didn't quite happen. But yeah, Liam, we love him to bits. He's not only a very close friend of mine, but someone I'm happy to call a teammate as well. And he just played Kasai all weekend. Played a solid 16 rounds of Kasai or something, and I mean it went very, very well for him, as you can see in this pod here. I think my main takeaway from looking at these top pods, we can already see that kind of small fear in effect of people trying to diversify a little bit. There's way more Olympias here. There's more 3-3-2 pods, and I think people learned their lesson from Draft Pod 1.
Yeah, totally. Also in Draft Pod 1, Valentin Mako on KO and Nabe Mobassa on Olympia. So we recorded over Nabe's shoulder, and then we went through his draft process while sort of like the top 8 draft was going on. So you can check that out, and you can also see if you agree with what Nabe has drafted. Pod 2 is a little bit more even, sort of like you were saying, lessons learned, let people go for KO and sort of like, try and pick up other cards, which you might be more fortunate with. Pod 2, Mark Henderson on Olympia, Francesco Giorgio on Kasai, and Yassine Ekafai Tripiana on Betsy. So those were all the players that made it into the top 8 that I've mentioned on Which Heroes. Francesco Giorgio needed to go 3-0 in his pod to make it into the top cut, and he did that. So well done, Francesco.
Yeah, absolutely. Francesco is a limited mastermind. The man has multiple top 8s in the limited format. I believe a battle hardened win. To have multiple battle hardened wins in limited actually. Is very, very, very good at limited, and I was not at all surprised to see him kind of taking this pod for a beating either.
Yeah, indeed. Pod 3, you've got the 4 brutes again. So one of those brutes was going to have a sad time. Don't know what those results were. Okay, so those were the pods. A little bit more streamlined, as you've said, Scott, as people sort of like to develop their draft strategies into heavy hitters. So let's go. What have I not got the top 8 one? Oh dear, I've made a boo-boo.
Oh no.
With the magic of editing, we will come back. Okay, so we're back. I quickly made the slide. Scott was very patient with me. Sort of like it's just been a wild weekend. Trying
Through
to
the
get
wonders of video magic.
you never knew what I did.
No, literally, it was always there, and it's just a bit. I promise.
Yeah. Right, okay, so this is the top 8 draft. 2 Betsy, 2 Kasai, 2 Reinar, which is a bit of a surprise. 1 KO. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of spoke briefly to Naib about their Reinar list. I know Mark was quite talkative too. Mark realised he was maybe in a bit of trouble when he expected the Reinar hat to wheel and it didn't. And that's not exactly something that happens very often in a heavy hitters draft. But yeah, this was. I know Pablo kind of audibly sighed and shook his head when this draft finished. He wasn't very happy with how it went, being one of 3 Guardians in the pod.
Okay.
And the 2 Warriors, they were both ecstatic. They were both very, very happy about how it all broke. So.
Yeah, the thing is maybe it's I'm expecting everyone to go KO. I'm expecting everyone to go Warrior, and then maybe seeing how the other drafts sort of like panned out, they're going, okay, maybe I'll go as a surprise, go Guardian and try and pick those cards up, and maybe they did well on the first round and sort of like, and then realise they're kind of struggling for cards on the second pack.
Yeah, I talked about this with one of my other teammates, George Jones, on day 2, where we both kind of reached the point where we knew we had to 3-0 if we wanted to make top 8. We could still make it, but we were going to have to not lose any more games. And I think there's very much a valid argument to these players. If their goal is to win this calling, being the one Guardian in the pod is how you have the best shot at doing that, because there's so many pods in this format that people don't want to touch Guardian with the barge pole, because the second you get 3 of them, all of your decks kind of suck, which is a big fear. It's a very, very unsafe route to take. But if it's all or nothing, you only care about 3-0 or 0-3, it's a nice way to take the gamble and really go for it. And I think we can definitely see somewhat here that a number of players thought Guardian might be their best route to winning the event, and they all kind of got in each other's way.
Yeah, I haven't really seen Victor do very well in draft. We've seen Olympia do really well in draft, but I haven't seen it. I haven't heard it. Anyone?
I know Victor 3-0'd pod 5 for draft 1 because I lost the finals of that pod to Simon Nielsen on Victor. So I know that happened because I wasn't very happy about it. But yeah,
why is that?
It's definitely. I mean, I don't like losing the finals of pods. It went pretty badly for me. What can I say? But no, Simon was a great player. So, but I agree with you. There's not all that much hype around Victor doing super well, but clearly there is a way to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. I know Pablo was doing overpower with Betsy on the very first turn to push some damage through. Or try and get some armor early, for somebody sort of like, to make a suboptimal play, blocking with their armor. But yeah, when we had him on stream on round 2 of this draft, he couldn't get that off. He literally played a duff hand, so he just Arsenaled, and then that was it.
Yeah, it wasn't great for him. As I say, the deck looked a bit dodgy on camera, and that first turn is the most important turn for these Guardians. It's big red aura, it's leak overpower damage, especially if you're going first. And if you just kind of have to sheepishly sigh an Arsenal card, you're in pretty damn bad shape.
Yeah. When Liam Holden, as soon as he drafted, he saw me and he just went, "My deck is cracked." He was he had a massive smile, and it always sets you up when you feel confident straight after that draft. And it pretty much sort of like we see him sort of like on the first round of this draft, sort of like on the stream, and his deck was firing all cylinders, which fills you with confidence even more.
It does, yeah. I've been joking with Liam since, obviously, because he only played Kasai all weekend. He doesn't actually know how to draft heavy hitters. He just knows how to draft Kasai, and it turned out all right for him in the end. And yeah, that deck looked fantastic all the way through the top 8 cut. And he does know his way around a attack reaction.
Yeah, indeed. So let's get on to the final. Sort of like we covered both sides, both top and tail of this. Liam Holden versus Francesco Giorgio. Their decks were pretty similar. They were sort of like duking it out. 4 go again, 4 go again, followed by, Francesco coming back with 5 go again, 5 go again. Liam answered again, to that with 5s and go again into 5s. Sort of like there was no holding back. And the attack reactions certainly came through.
Yeah, some real back and forth rising energy turns from both players in this final. I was watching it in the big feature match area, watching it on the big screen with everybody else, and obviously it's two of the UK's finest players here in the final, so we're all kind of secretly rooting for both. But also, this was a big North versus South match, so there was that kind of natural divide among the UK folks rooting for their hometown hero, for lack of a better phrase. And we were watching Liam's game during the semi-finals, and then watching Francesco's on my phone, and it's like, Liam, you've made the finals. By the way, Francesco's got a blade flurry. Play around that thing, and it's very, very much a fun little conversation before the match. And it ended up in a spectacular final that everybody really enjoyed, very much down to the wire. Great little game.
Yeah, it's definitely one that you wanted to see. Sort of like tooth and nail, sort of like low health. It wasn't one-sided. It was, and Liam actually had the same finisher in his arsenal that he actually lost the game to. So that's how similar their decks were. It was pretty crazy, but well-deserved win. When Francesco edged it into the top 8 in 8th, like the auditorium sort of like cheered out as if you were actually in an arena, sort of like watching, two players sort of like, square off against each other. It was really good to hear.
Yeah, I love the hype, and I gotta mention it. We keep having 8th seed. It keeps happening. It happened at Worlds. It happened at Hartford. It happened at the Celebrational. It happened here at Liverpool. Every event so far from the end of last year through to the start of this year. If you sneak into the top 8 and 8th, you're a shoo-in for that first place prize. No one can get in your way at the minute.
But they tried something new though, didn't they? They sort of like randomised the seating, so you went in sort of like 1 to 8, and then you kind of like got randomised, but you weren't. That's
I think it was a case of you still played 1 to 8, 2 to 7, 3 to 6, so on, but the actual draft itself wasn't seated in that order, because normally you'd expect your opponent to be on your diagonal, and they experimented with not having that be the case and kind of randomising the seating for the top 8 draft, and not having a time limit on it either, which I found to be very, very interesting. And definitely threw some spanners in the work.
Yeah, they did that for draft 2 as well, sort of like on the top table, sort of like there was one of the refs there just going, look, I'm not gonna time it, I'm not gonna do the usual thing, I'm just gonna tell you if you're taking too much time, I'm gonna tell you basically you need to pick. And that worked really well.
I'm jealous. Me down in pod 5, sitting there panicking about my 8th pick as the clock ticks down. No justice whatsoever. But yeah, no, fair enough.
It's well done to Francesco. I know I always joke on this channel that you can't talk about Francesco, but talk as much as you like about him now. He's won a massive competition, fantastic result. And beware when he gets to Pro Tour, because he's going to be buoyed by that success for sure.
Name to watch out for if you, for some reason, weren't doing so already.
Yeah, indeed. Right, okay. So the Battle Hardened one. This is what a lot of people were after. Sort of like, this is the Swiss, completely different from sort of like Hartford and Manila. Sort of like Yukili Bender showed sort of like what KO can do, and people have been picking up KO's cards. Bravo, certainly a strong pick. Everyone was saying he was a strong pick, and at the top tables, Michael Feng was there pretty much most of the day. But the real one is sort of like only 4 Prism. This turned into a bit of the talk of Battle Hardened.
Now really. I wonder why that might be a relevant hero indeed. For how this Battle Hardened plays out.
Yeah, indeed. It's sort of like the Teklevosen's gone. We saw Teklevosen, Max and Dashio sort of like have one apiece in the previous ones, but sort of like Teklo's gone. The Riptide was a red line Riptide, and it was tearing up the top tables for a fair few rounds.
Riptide can do some speaky things. People forget that he's got some very powerful, aggressive play patterns that were kind of just stifled by being worse than Lexi a lot of the time. And now that she's gone, she's out of the way, people aren't used to aggressive rangers that could go wide. They're used to going tall in the form of Azalea. So definitely very easy to punk people and catch them off guard with a hero like Riptide. I think this top 8 is this Swiss breakdown is is very cool to look at. It's slowly but surely people are realizing that Kano is in a very good spot. Where did all these Kanos come from? It's just everybody picking up the hero, giving it a shake.
Yeah.
2 of these brand new heroes up there in the top 3 most played in the format. KO making Victor look a little silly. We saw last week Victor was the most played new hero in the format, and he doesn't like brutes very much. So suddenly he's fallen off of a cliff as the KO hype kicks in. A lot of movement, a lot of changes, and it's very exciting to see.
Yeah, it's still settling down. It will settle down for, it's going to take a while yet. Okay, so let's get into the top 8. So this is 2 Bravo. So this was Erica Forslove and Michael Feng. Erica actually beat Michael to get into the top 8.
She was buzzing, absolutely buzzing. I was sitting in a corner doing a whole lot of nothing, watching the call-in take place, playing some casual games, and I just see her jog round the corner and tap me on the shoulder and be like, I made it, absolutely ecstatic for her. And then she found out, of course, she was playing Prism in the quarters, which less ecstatic about that part.
Team Dash, one of them was the UK national champion Alex Kitsu. He was on Dash. George Douglas, I've heard the name. I can never put a face to the name, but I know I've seen him somewhere. The one Prism, Rob Catton. The one Sir Bolton, Breaker of Dawn, was Finley Shepherd. Now, Finley, we showed him on Bolton at the last calling in Birmingham, and he won that game as well. I think he beat Matt Rogers on that stream game. So it shows that basically he's been playing it for a while, and he's flipping good at it too. George Keys was on Azuri, and he got into the top 8 of, he got into the top 4, I think, for calling in Birmingham. Okay, so let's go. Sorry, mate, you were about to say.
You're all good. Yeah, no, I mean, you could carry on all you like, but I think it's definitely very exciting to see a nice spread of heroes here. Very interesting to see 0 copies of KO converting from all of those people that picked it up to play it on day number 1. Very cool to see Bolton being a real hero. People continue to disrespect what he's capable of, and I love seeing him succeed. But yeah, this is a good little spread. Nice variety of decks among the top 8.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so final time. Rob Catton versus Finley Shepherd. Rob Catton went out of day 1 in about 67th place. Now, at the time, as soon as he did it, I looked at Rob, and Lila, his partner, was there, and we just went, you're going to win this, because essentially what Rob does is whenever he loses a day 1 event, or bubbles out, I should say, on a day 1 event, he always wins the day 2 event, doesn't he?
He does do that, yeah.
Sort of like PTIs, sort of like battle hardens. It's just like he has this reputation for it, and I joke with him. We just went, "You're going to win it tomorrow."
Yeah, well, I've been jokingly calling Rob Mr. Sunday Stage for a while, and that started when he top 8'd Worlds, but more and more he's just been picking this Sunday event and being like, "No, that's mine," and it's quite funny actually. He asked me if he'd made it when the parents went out, because I pulled him up on my phone, and I was like, "No, you've missed, mate. You're in 67th." And he turns around to me and goes, "Get in. I get to play Prism tomorrow." And I've never seen somebody so excited to have missed day 2 of a call-in. But he was ecstatic about it. And I mean, the story wrote itself towards the end here. Rob and by affiliation, Jake Warburton have been working on this Prism deck in the background for quite a long time. I've been catching whispers of what's going on as they play test more and more, and they really put on a show here and made everybody aware that everyone's favorite Lady of Light is maybe a little less gone than they'd hoped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure Talishar, after the deck tech he's done with Hamish,
flooded.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it went out like yesterday, and I popped on Talishar this morning for work, and it's just a pile of people trying to figure out how this thing works. And people have missed her. People really enjoy Prism. They enjoy the play style of the hero, but she's very much the Marmite hero of Flesh and Blood, like very much like Kano. You either love her to bits or you can't stand her. Mm-hmm. So people are either buzzing or miserable, and nowhere in between right now.
Yeah, indeed. Commiserations to Finley, mate. It was a blinder of a final. Rob is such a strong opponent. So you did really well, mate. But that was a battle hardened. Rob Catton took that down with Prism. So check out the deck tech on Push the Point with Hamish, where sort of like Rob talks about it, and he does go through how complicated it actually is. It's not just slap an aura down like it was before, as fast as you can, and ping for one. It's not like that anymore.
No, there's
It's
so much depth to
yeah,
this deck. It really hurts my brain, and I think for the people that are looking to pick it up, Rob's been courteous enough to give out his full sideboard guide in that deck list as well.
yeah,
So if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing and you need a little bit of help, he's got you covered on that front
yeah.
as well.
When I gave it a listen, I was just like, this sounds like Kano level, sort of like plays with Prism. It's just like
Yeah, there's
certain
something.
auras at certain times.
There's something very impressive about listening to a man talk about a deck he's clearly worked on quite a lot. And it's, well, how do you beat Guardian? I don't really understand. And he goes, well, here's step one of this 7-step process. And my brain melts and dumps out of my ear as I have to try and understand what on earth is going on and why that's the game plan and why I'm not just allowed to play Icelander anymore. It was so much easier when that was the case.
Righty, so that is all the Battle Hardens and the calling events all wrapped up. But where will you see me next? This is the Road to Nationals in the UK, Ireland, and now Sweden. So I will be covering the lot, thanks to sort of like the UK community, the Irish community, and sort of like the Swedish community, headed up by sort of like Diran Bajwa, the Dizzy Tank, and Erica Forslöv. So thank you for bringing the Swedish meta. I've got some maps to make. And hopefully, sort of like we can see how that all develops over the Road to National season. So stay tuned. I should be in York on Sunday with Scott.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to win the same number of games as Baz, but I'm the one playing the event. It's going to be great.
You can come and help me out then, mate. So hopefully it will be streamed. If not, it will be recorded. But sort of like I haven't got Alan to hold my hand. Scott's going to very kindly sort of like show me how to do it. And hopefully we'll bring you some stellar games on Sunday from York. All right. So
sounds like a good time to me.
Anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, if you want a soft competition, you can come beat me in York, or you can come beat me at Fanboy 3. You might come beat me in Sheffield the day before York, because I'm being coerced into going and wasting my entire weekend again. So those are the 3 that you can probably find me at if you're looking for me. Otherwise, you can obviously find me in all the normal places: Channel Fireball, TCG Player, Twitter, most UK events that have a draw to play some pile of garbage deck that I can enjoy. So hopefully I'll see a fair share of you around in the future.
Nice. I will be at EH Game in York. We're going to try Dice Cup in Nottingham, and obviously Manor Screw in Northampton on the 3rd week. All right. So take care, everybody. Come up with your plans on how to beat Prism, because she's going to be forced to be reckoned with. Dude, you're on. That means you get to close.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for this lovely meta report here on the Baz the Bard channel. I have been Howling Minds. That has been Baz the Bard, and you have been amazing. But until next time, take care, have a good one, and we'll see you again very, very soon.
Bye-bye.